I thought it would be nice to sit here by the fire and grab myself a drink. Damn it. Damn it. It's not, I want whatever's in that right now. Whew, I really want that. Hello gamers, welcome back to the games. The age-old argument of PvP versus PvE. Now, what is PvP? Player versus player. And what is PvE? It's player versus environment. So those that like PvP like to play against other players, other gamers. Gamers versus gamers, they like to compete against other people. They get more satisfaction out of playing against others. And people who like PvE are generally those that don't want to deal with people, that are a little bit more, and you got to understand, before I even get into explaining this and my personal bias and my opinion, let me just tell you that I actually do prefer PvP over PvE. I'm going to put a poll on our community tab that you guys can check out and vote there, because I think this is an interesting argument, debate. Not even really an argument. It's just like your own personal preference, your style of play. I'd also like to hear your comments down below, because I've always been curious as to why people prefer PvE over PvP. Now, I can put myself in their shoes and say, I get that. Like, sometimes you just want to sit down. You just want to relax, and you don't want to have to deal with people. But let me explain to you why I believe that PvP is better than PvE. Doesn't mean I'm right. It just means that's what I prefer. And why I prefer it is this. I'm an old school gamer. If you can't tell, got a little grays in the face here on the beard. And when I started gaming, I didn't think that there was any other option to play other people than at an arcade, where you can go against another person by putting an extra quarter in and pushing two players. Sometimes they were co-op games, sometimes they were against that person, and that was exhilarating to me. That was exciting, because I could actually say I beat somebody, right? But it was also exciting to me, you know, with the first Nintendo Entertainment System console, to actually beat programmed AI. There were plenty of instances where, like, you know, I got that same kind of exhilaration, that same satisfaction on beating a level or beating a particular game that I would against playing against somebody at the arcade and beating them. But as video games started to evolve, and you know, we went into the 90s, and you know, like, there was more focus on multiplayer games. And I think the real first taste I had of like multiplayer competition was Warcraft. And then it evolved into kind of other multiplayer games like StarCraft. And I got like this very nice sense of satisfaction of like chess players sitting across from one another at a table, like strategy games. And that's kind of how it started for me for PvP. Then it got into shooters, you know, different types of shooters, Battlefield, these types of games, like, brought about like this, you know, mixed with like Doom back in the day. And I started to realize that what I really liked was the satisfaction in knowing that the skills that I brought into a game against another person, where we are on even level playing fields, and I beat that person playing in that format, was an addictive, like, wow, that was a rush, and I loved it. And I didn't ever get that sense of satisfaction back from PvE. Like, I went back to PvE plenty of times on other games, and while I love like RPG, those types of games that have multiplayer in them with the co-op, I just always tend to find that, like, in those particular instances, while I love it and the camaraderie of it and the friends of it, I never really got that satisfaction that I did when I was in a competitive mode against other people. Now, if I was in a co-op situation and we were playing against other players, like a PUBG or all the battle royales coming out right now, I still get it. I still get that, like, yeah, that's great. But I'm not getting it so much into the PvE realm anymore, which is one of the reasons why I left Elite Dangerous. A lot of people were like, why'd you leave Elite Dangerous, and why, you know, why don't you do PvP in there anymore? And it's because it's very difficult. It's like David and Frontier have literally said, you know, like PvP doesn't matter to us, you know, like it's just going around exploring, and that's great. If that's your game style, that's great. But I literally had to look for the PvP in the game, and then when I found the PvP in the Elite Dangerous, people would just log off, and you know, they wouldn't deal with it, and the mechanics was so that it wasn't fun for me anymore, because I wasn't playing and putting up my skills against somebody else's, and I couldn't have even matches. Scenarios in which I enjoyed were gone in the game, and that's why I made a whole series devoted in Elite Dangerous to finding people, you know, and to bringing out about what I thought was really what is the cornerstone in gaming right now, and what I think it's evolving to, where like it's the multiplayer experience where you're going against somebody else, and in a manner in which as long as the playing field is level and there's no hacks or anything being involved, you can have very fun times playing against other people. And that, for me, is why I like PvP. But I do understand the other side of this debate, this argument, because it is interesting, because like when you think about game development, like what is it that you guys think is like the thing that makes the game the most immersive? What brings people back? If you had to vote one or the other, right? Or even a mix of the two. See, now that's where we get a little bit like, you know, we're talking about maybe it's one or the other, or maybe it's a mix of the two. And I would say that it would probably be a mix of the two. It becomes an issue is, okay, if it is a mix of the two and it's not one or the other, because there are people that are going to say it's all PvP or it's all PvE. So I'll make another option that will say a mix of the two. But how so then do we regulate the line at which like the PvP, and this is what happens in games that involve PvE and PvP, is like, how do we regulate it, right? How do we make sure that the PvE players have a good experience and the PvP players have a good experience, and that we can, while meshing the entire world together, can kind of keep it separate so that these two types of players don't, you know, mess each other's experiences. And you've seen a lot of games try and do this, for the most part unsuccessfully. And I can name as many titles as you guys probably are thinking about right now, and you're probably listing them in comments below. I won't even get into that. But it would be neat to see a game like Star Citizen, we talk about a lot on the channel here, to actually like marry the two elements together in such a way that's never been done before. And I don't know exactly how you would go about it. There would have to be areas in which there would be okay for PvE, that no PvP would be allowed, and vice versa. And that is a very hard thing to do. And I think that was never really an issue in the 90s, because it was just kind of opening up. Everybody was pouring into multiplayer games, and you kind of had to let that progression evolve, and you have to see where it comes to. But now, you know, 20 years later, we can see that there has to be some type of policing of the two camps. So what is that line? How do we police it? What do you guys think? I think this is a great conversation. I thought it would be nice to sit here by the fire and grab myself a drink. Damn it. It's not, I want whatever's in that right now. I really want that. I'm sure there's mead or something in there that like, and whatever's cooking there, I'm starving. But on a cold day like this, I thought this was the perfect format to talk about PvP and PvE. My heater just kicked on. That's gonna completely ruin the sound for everybody. So I think that's my cue to go. Thanks everybody for sticking around here, talking PvP versus PvE. Good discussion. I would like to hear what you guys have to say on this. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you on the next vid. More Star Citizen content on the way. Working on another Hearthstone deck. Happy Thanksgiving if I don't see you from now to then. I'm sure I'll have another video out before then. And check out my Patreon page and think about becoming a patron. Thanks everybody for watching on the channel. All the new subscribers. Love you. More content on the way. Thanks so much.